Welcome back to your daily dose of camera content. Today, I want to talk about a mobile teleprompter. But before we get started, like this video, hit the subscribe button, and consider joining the channel. Channel members get exclusive access to Filmmaker Alchemy, behind the scenes lessons and insights on the business of video production. Learn how to turn your content into gold. This is the Ambitful. On mine, it says Prawn Store. I don't know. It's one of those Chinese names you find on Amazon. But what's cool about this is the size and the weight. I talk about this a lot, but I'm not a fan of making things bigger and bulkier and heavier and more expensive just for the sake of looking cool or rigging a kit out. This is the right size for what it does, and maybe it's right for you. I was looking for a prompter that I could clip on to my camera that I could run just teleprompter software on my iPhone. There's a lot of cool prompter apps nowadays where they'll actually listen to the script and they'll move accordingly. I'll leave a link to this and the app in the description. The one I use, I think, is Prompt Smart, but there's maybe a few options out there. The reason being is back in the day when teleprompters, and they've been around forever, right? In news, television, teleprompter is king. And to make the consumer version of that, a lot of times people would use iPads or they'd rig out these bigger kits. You can still find them on Amazon. They're upwards of like $100 sometimes. And they work, but they're kind of tricky to travel with sometimes. And at the end of the day, they can be more trouble than they're worth. Setting them up, taking the time, building out the rig, doing the whole deal, especially if you don't always need it. This kind of fit into place where I thought, oh, wow, I always have my phone with me. This is small. It's lightweight. The build quality on this, it's plastic, but that can also be a good thing because plastic tends to be lighter weight. So it's not the sturdiest, most robust design, but I don't necessarily need it to be, especially for the price point. You could complain about the build quality all you want, but it does get the job done. You put your iPhone on it, you run your app, it just works like you'd want a teleprompter to work. And what's cool is that on the back, you can actually, they have these rings that screw in to either your filter or your lens itself, and they come in all different sizes, and it just slots right in. So imagine that this filter was on a lens. The prompter itself just slides and clicks into place. It's as simple as that. And it freely rotates. It's not super secure where it's locked down tight, but you don't necessarily need it to be either. And this is something you could still shoot with handheld because, again, it's plastic, it's small, it's lightweight, and it's cheap. If you break one, you can always buy another. Not that that's not the most sustainable solution. I wouldn't recommend it, but there is kind of that peace of mind sometimes where you're buying equipment, and if it's really expensive, you're worried about breaking it. This is not that type of gear. And it is a two-way, reflective mirror I think it's the 45-degree angle. However the glass is designed is where you can shoot through it. They can see the reflection. Now, this may not be appropriate for all environments. A phone screen, in here is quite tiny compared to an iPad or a real teleprompter. So if you're at any kind of distance from your subject, if you're shooting an environment with bright lights, maybe go for a better upgrade. This is good for more of that close-up, intimate, vlog style, YouTuber style. If you're able to get your camera near, maybe it's yourself, maybe you're doing some kind of recording too. I don't know what you're doing. This is the type of device for that purpose. Something where you're a little closer, you can read a little bit clearer than if it's further away. You're going to need, you're just going to need a bigger font size. You're going to need a bigger screen. You're going to need a bigger display. Everything's going to need to be bigger because you're further away. I hope that makes sense. This is for closer shoots, small, lightweight, easy to rig. Like I said, just slots right in place. So your whole camera, a lot of these prompter rigs, require rails or some kind of carriage or platform where it's all built on that. This just clips onto the lens. And again, if you're worried about weight or something, don't be. This is, I don't know exactly what it weighs. I probably should have weighed it before. Maybe it says on the product listing somewhere, but it's very lightweight. You could clip this to the front of your lens and not really have to worry about it. Tricky thing is, the maximum filter size that is acceptable is 77 millimeters. Now, maybe that's a problem. Maybe it's not. A lot of lenses are 77 and smaller, but I do have some lenses that are 82. So you have to get a step down ring. I think that's the right way. Step down, step up. I always forget, but I think it's step down. So an 82 to 77 step down will allow you to attach to their kind of proprietary ring. I don't know if I'll be able to get it off of the filter right now. No, probably not. It's a little tight on there. But it's this extra little lip filter that it screws on there. So the biggest one they give you is a 77. So that kind of caught me off guard, but that's what I'm telling you, so you can prepare for it. If you have an 82 millimeter lens, get a step down adapter. That way you can accept 77. That's the biggest they go. But if you have something smaller than that, they send you a whole kit of rings. I think they even show you here in the product listing. There's plenty of the rings that they give you, which is fine. And it works like it should. It's just a simple little mirror screen. I would avoid keeping out of like direct sunlight. The way this works, and an issue I ran into with it is if there's light hitting inside of it, it's so small, it's such a small space, you will get reflections of maybe the logos on the front of your camera lens or something like that. Because if they're lit up on the inside via direct light, it can reflect back on the mirror itself and you might see it. I've also shot pretty wide in terms of focal length. That's the other thing you might want to know. And I don't remember, I'm sorry, off the top of my head, but I think I was shooting like even at like 10 millimeters on micro four thirds, which would be a 20 millimeter full frame equivalent. I was getting a little bit of vignetting in the corners, but I only noticed because I was shooting open gate. Now I might have had a stabilization mode turned on where it was cropped in slightly. I'm really having to go from memory. I'd have to put it through the test, but just in general, know that you can film fairly wide with this prompter. And that's where you're going to get more of those issues of like seeing reflections. Again, in certain situations, if the light is shining directly in there, if you're ultra wide, it's just going to be potentially more of a problem or something that'll catch you off guard. So just keep an eye out for that. If you have any logos or, the text they write on the front of lenses, you may end up seeing that if you're in a very certain set of circumstances with a wider focal length, etc. I've explained that far too long at this point in time. But yes, you can shoot fairly wide. I'd say 20 millimeters full frame equivalent, maybe a little bit push past that just for safety, like 24 millimeters, certainly fine. 28, absolutely you're good. And then from there, the longer the focal length you go, the further your subject is likely going to be away from the camera, which maybe pushes you more towards wanting a bigger prompter, more for like an iPad or something like that. But I personally had the need for something this small and lightweight. And I thought it has to exist. And I only found like one of them. It's not a common thing. So I wanted to call it out, give you a link to it, see if it's something you might benefit from. Certainly not expensive, not a huge burden in terms of a workflow, setting it up, rigging it out, all very smooth and effortless. The only real trick is making sure you have a good prompter app on your smartphone. And the one I would recommend is Prompt Smart. There is you kind of like paid unlock, and then they even have a subscription model after that. Just do the paid unlock, just the regular app, pay for it, ad-free, whatever, and it will actually listen and track with the speaker. I find that super helpful rather than trying to sync to any kind of remote or device and matching their speed. If you've done prompter before, that is the trick. The subject is always going to get frustrated with either you're going too fast or too slow or, it's tripping them up. Prompter is not for everybody. I don't use it for every shoot or every project because sometimes it is overkill. Oftentimes it might not be necessary. If they didn't write a script, there's nothing to prompt anyway. But in those situations where there is a script written and the person is good at reading and delivering their lines, I highly recommend a setup like this, or even a bigger one with the iPad if you want to go that route. That's just a little bit more infrastructure. And sometimes that's not always appropriate. This you can still run and gun. That's why I wanted it, because I didn't want something that was going to lock me to a tripod. I wanted to be able to go shoot handheld and still have prompter, because again, the iPhone is so small, clipping it in there, you can have prompter everywhere you go. And I think that's kind of cool. That's the benefit of this type of technology, so to speak. Not everyone. A lot of people like to make things bigger, bulkier to put on the show. That's valuable from time to time. But if it means adding time, adding weight, adding cost unnecessarily, that's where I'd say stay away from that and find something that's actually a good solution depending on what you're doing. And you can find cool things like this that are simple and cheap, but get the job done. And at the end of the day, that's all you really need sometimes. So I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind on it one day, but so far so good. I'm liking how it works. And it is really just kind of the one solution that I wanted, where it just clips right on. You know, if I've got my lens and this is the prompter and I just slot it on there, that's the kind of stuff that I like to use when it's appropriate. So let me know what you think. You can certainly check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. And yeah, hopefully that helps.